Before you even go to the comment section, I know, trust me, Alph is already in the game, and trust me when I say this, if anybody knew, I'm pretty sure it would be somebody that plays this character. But the thing about Alph is that he's literally just a skin of Olimar. He's kind of like the great value brand version of Olimar in the sense that all the ingredients are exactly the same, and yet there's still something about him that disappoints you. With the introduction of Smash Ultimate back in 2018, for the first time in the series, we were introduced to the concept of Echo Fighters. Now, Echo Fighters are pretty much exactly what they sound like. They're basically characters that are an echo of another character. Basically, they're characters that are pretty similar but couldn't justify being an entirely separate character. And while that's the case for like a lot of Echo Fighters, there's characters like Mario and Doc which are like pretty similar but kind of different, or like Villager and Isabelle which are kind of similar but not really Echo Fighters. Okay, I know it's kind of confusing so far, but they're definitely not exact clones of each other, because when you look at like Olimar and Alph, those aren't Echo Fighters, or when you look at Bowser Jr. and the rest of the Koopalings, those aren't Echo Fighters. But then again, there's also Daisy and Peach, and they're Echo Fighters, but like they're literally the same thing. Alright, if I'm being honest, I don't really know what classifies something as an Echo Fighter, but on to the video. I've talked about this a lot in the past, but I have some pretty cool ideas on how Olimar's moveset could be different for Smash. And with the release of Pikmin 4 this week, my ideas have continued to grow. We now have 9 different species of Pikmin, a giant dog, tons of enemies, bomb rocks, and many more ways to change up Olimar's moveset. And instead of completely changing his moveset, I thought to myself, what if we made a true Echo Fighter for Olimar? An Echo Fighter that has a pretty similar structure to Olimar, but has enough differences to really make the character feel unique. Well, to start off, we have to decide who Olimar's Echo Fighter would be. And obviously we've seen many captains throughout the Pikmin series, but none are as popular as the main captain, Olimar. But that being said, there's a ton of Pikmin characters that have been fan favorites, including the President, Louie, and my favorite, which is my boy Charlie. With all that being said, I don't think it really matters who the Echo Fighter is, because they're all just essentially captains. Most of the moveset is going to be based around Pikmin anyways, so to keep it simple, we're just going to say that Alph will be the Echo Fighter of Olimar. And again, yes, I know that Alph is technically in Smash Ultimate already, but it's literally just a skin for Olimar. This video is about creating an actual moveset for Alph that makes him different from Olimar. To kick things off, we need to decide what moves are going to be shared between these two captains. And like I mentioned earlier, an ideal Echo Fighter in my head is a pair of characters that share some moves and are pretty similar overall, but they definitely have some features that make them different from one another. The moves that would be shared between Olimar and Alph are going to be their basic jab, forward tilt, which is their wind-up punch, up tilt where they spin in the air, their basic neutral air, their forward air and back air, their down air spike, forward smash, down smash. All of their different throws are going to be the same. And lastly, all of Olimar's specials are going to be the same for Alph, because they kind of work hand in hand together, and because I think we all deserve to forget about Olimar's old recovery before flying Pikmin came into existence. Now I know what you're probably thinking, that's basically the whole moveset, right? What's the point of making this video if you're not going to change anything? But hear me out, I'm going to get to it. Overall, it makes sense to keep most of the moveset the same, because again, these are Echo Fighters instead of completely different characters. And that being said, there are a lot of minor things that we can change for these characters to have completely different playstyles. One of those minor changes being the type of Pikmin that each captain can have. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a ton of Pikmin to choose from, and I feel like we're at a point now where we have enough Pikmin to split them up between both captains. In this Echo Fighter concept, both captains will have the standard red, yellow, and blue Pikmin. Olimar will continue to have white and purple Pikmin, and instead of having white and purple Pikmin, Alph is going to have glow Pikmin and ice Pikmin. The only Pikmin that leaves out is rock Pikmin, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Now that we know which Pikmin each captain has, we can start to fill in the gaps with those missing moves for Alph, so let's go ahead and start off with the tilt move that's missing for Alph, and that's down tilt. Olimar's down tilt is actually very solid and a great option to start combos, but I think there's an opportunity to change it up a bit for Alph. Throughout the Pikmin games, you often find nectar for your Pikmin, and this basically helps the flowers on their heads bloom, which makes them overall faster in the game. When Pikmin 2 came out, they introduced Ultra Spicy Nectar, which is able to be turned into Ultra Spicy Spray. And when you use the spray on your Pikmin, they become much faster and much stronger. So what exactly does that have to do with Smash? Well, I think for Alph's down tilt, they could change it up and give him the Spicy Spray. The move will be similar to Ice Climber's Blizzard, except the range would obviously be smaller and the duration wouldn't be as long. After landing it on your opponent, they would basically have some of that spray covered onto them for a short period of time. And while your opponent has that spray on them, if you latch a Pikmin onto them, they'll start to do more damage over time until the spray goes away. And obviously, if you hit them with the spray multiple times over a short period, then that spray is going to last longer on them, giving you the chance to latch more Pikmin and do more damage. I honestly think this would be a cool way to incorporate a big part of Pikmin that's been missing from Smash. Moving on to the next missing move, and that's Up Smash. Again, this is another great combo starter for Olimar typically, but I think we can make a change here as well for Alph. Instead of Alph having Up Smash as a combo starter, it would basically be a very strong kill option for him. Alph's up smash would actually be very similar to Ivysaur's up smash. Olimar utilizes his Pikmin by sending them in different directions for his smash attacks, and Alph would still do that for up smash, but instead of just sending the Pikmin out by himself, it would be holding the bomb rock. And if you've ever played Pikmin before, you know the bomb rocks are pretty much everywhere in the game. And the name explains exactly what it is. It's a rock that explodes. When charging up smash, one of Alph's Pikmin would be pulling the bomb rock out of the ground, and it would pull it straight up and explode over Alph's head. This would turn Alph's up smash into a very strong kill move. Like I said, it would be very very similar to Ivysaur's up smash, meaning that it would have some end lag to help balance it out. And as a result, it would probably kill off the Pikmin holding the Brock, which means you can't spam it all day. Moving on to Alph's missing aerial, which is up air. And to be honest, this one's just a simple change for me because I feel like we need to change at least one more other base move. In Smash Ultimate, Olimar just swings a Pikmin up in the air for up air, but he didn't always used to do that. Back in Brawl, Olimar actually tossed a Pikmin up in the air for his up air, and I think it would be a cool nod back to Brawl if we gave Olimar's old up air to Alph instead. This would give him a move with a little bit more range, and depending on the Pikmin you have out, it would of course do some extra effects. And like I said, this feels like a minor change, but still a pretty cool change to give Alph. Alright, so that's it, right? That covers all of Alph's missing moves that I wanted to change, but hold on, we still gotta talk about one more thing. We still need to talk about how these guys are gonna work. But before we get to them, we need to talk about this guy first. Rock Pikmin were the only Pikmin completely left out of Smash when Olimar's moveset was updated in Smash 4, and I don't really understand why. In Pikmin 3, these Pikmin were introduced with the ability to break glass by throwing them at glass. Well, I think it's important to include these Pikmin for both captains, so this is gonna be the one change that I make to Olimar, but it's also going to affect Alph. And yes, like I said, in the Pikmin games, Rock Pikmin can break glass, which means that in Smash, they're gonna break shields. But don't worry, of course, I'm gonna balance it out. Basically, the way that I would incorporate Rock Pikmin into both Olimar and Alph's moveset is by copying Mr. Saturn. We already have a character in Smash that can randomly pull an item that instantly breaks shields, and that's Peach. Peach has a 1 out of 166 chance of pulling a Mr. Saturn instead of a turnip, and if she does that, she can break shields instantly by hitting the shield with a Mr. Saturn. And Mr. Saturn will basically just stay on stage unless somebody throws him off stage. Now, obviously, you can pluck Pikmin way faster than turnips, so I would decrease the odds of pulling a Rock Pikmin, but basically both captains would have a random chance of pulling a Rock Pikmin instead of their usual lineup of Pikmin. If they pull a Rock Pikmin, it would instantly break a shield, and if you missed it, it would just walk around the stage, kind of like Mr. Saturn. Instead of your typical Pikmin that follow you around, it would literally be like pulling an item out of the ground, just like Mr. Saturn, which means that other people can pick it up too. And while I feel like this wouldn't drastically change anything for Olimar or Alph, I think it would still be a cool way to include the one Pikmin that was left out. Alright, now that we have all of that out the way, the final part of Alph's moveset that we need to discuss are his two unique Pikmin, the Ice Pikmin and the Glow Pikmin. Ice Pikmin kind of look like purple Pikmin, except that they're made of ice, obviously, and they have the ability to freeze water when thrown at it, but they also have the ability to freeze enemies over time. I kind of struggled to come up with a concept for these at first because I had so many different ideas of how they could be used in Smash, but I think I've finally settled on an idea. Ice Pikmin would essentially be used in a similar way to purples because they'd be used to zone opponents out. As of now, Olimar's Pikmin are all thrown at a similar angle over Olimar's head, with the exception of yellows that are thrown a little bit higher, but for Alph, the Ice Pikmin will be the exception. Instead of the classic overhead throw, Alph would toss Ice Pikmin with an underhand throw. That means that when you're on the ground, Ice Pikmin will slide across the stage kind of like a bowling ball, and when tossed in the air, Ice Pikmin will be sent down at a 45-degree angle. If an Ice Pikmin hits an opponent, they would basically be knocked back a little bit, and again, similar to Ice Climbers, over time as the opponent's damage racks up, these Pikmin would have the ability to freeze opponents for longer periods of time. This basically forces your opponent to either jump over them to avoid getting hit or hold shield, and it really puts the pressure on them at hypersense. And honestly, with Ice Pikmin, I could even see freeze effects with Olimar's different smash attacks. That's kind of just the cherry on top. Now, obviously, this sounds kind of crazy, but there's always ways to balance this kind of stuff out. I mean, these Pikmin are literally made of ice, so even though they'd be very strong, they could probably die really easily, just like the white Pikmin. And the final Pikmin that will be exclusive to Alph is the Pikmin that we currently know the least about, and that's of course Glow Pikmin. I'm making this video just a few days before the release of Pikmin 4, and to be honest, we haven't gotten that much info about Glow Pikmin, but I think I've seen enough to come up with a concept. In the Pikmin trailers, we've seen Glow Pikmin attacking enemies, but there's one thing to really pay attention to. During the trailer, we see all the Glow Pikmin clump up into a ball and essentially explode onto enemies, and I could definitely see that working in Smash. Alph as an Echo Fighter would have the lineup of red, yellow, blue, glow, and then ice Pikmin. Just like Olimar, Alph would be able to have 3 usable Pikmin at a time, but he would actually be able to have more Pikmin on the field. Basically, as Alph cycles through his Pikmin, each time he pulls a Glow Pikmin, it would float above him, kind of like Sephiroth's orbs. The Glow Pikmin would do absolutely nothing. It would just be chilling there. And since you can't do anything with it, you'd be able to pull another Pikmin to give yourself another usable Pikmin. Just like Olimar, you'd be able to pluck more Pikmin as your Pikmin die, and as you go through your cycle of Pikmin, you'll eventually pull a second Glow Pikmin. This one will also float around you and do absolutely nothing. As you continue to go through your cycle of Pikmin, you would eventually pull your third Glow Pikmin. And as soon as you do that, all 3 Glow Pikmin would combine together to form a ball, kind of like a powerful bomb, and you'd be able to launch that at opponents to do big damage. You'd basically always be able to have 3 usable Pikmin, just like Olimar, no difference there. But every time you pull a Glow Pikmin, it would basically stack above you and just kind of float around you, and you'd be able to pull another Pikmin to replace it. And eventually you would collect enough Glow Pikmin to create a powerful move. Unlike Olimar, who's constantly cycling through lineups for purple Pikmin, Alph would basically be doing the same for Glow Pikmin, except that it would be more of a passive thing since they're always just floating around you. So in reality, all I changed were 3 moves for Alph, and I I gave him 2 different Pikmin. But I think just those 5 changes alone makes this character's playstyle so unique. Most moves between Alph and Olimar would be pretty similar, but even just changing 2 Pikmin for Alph would completely change how this character plays. So he would feel very unique without feeling like a completely separate character. Overall, these are just some cool ideas I came up with to incorporate all the Pikmin and to incorporate some concepts that we've never seen in Smash, like Bomb Rocks or Spicy Spray. And I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments for a true Echo Fighter of Olimar. And while you're in the comments, let me know if there's any other characters that you want me to come up with concepts for. As we know with Smash, some ideas on paper may sound broken and then they end up being terrible. I'm not saying these ideas are perfect by any means, but it would be a cool way to change up Alph's moveset into an actual Echo Fighter with proper balancing, of course. And either way, if we ever get another Smash game, I hope they do change up Olimar's moveset at least a little bit. Thank you for watching the video, I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy the video, I've got plenty of other content you can watch, whether you like Pikmin and you want to kind of know more about the game, I've got videos on that. Or if you're more into tournament recaps, I do those pretty often. I also make videos on different concepts for Smash games. And I also do kind of like video essays on different tournament sets that we've had in the past with Smash. So there's definitely something out there for you. Again, if you want to see more stuff like this, let me know in the comments. And other than that, I've got nothing else for you guys. Hope you have a good day and I'll catch you in the next one.